Hey, Mirin.
Hey, how are you? It's good to be
I'm
here.
I'm well. Thank you for joining me. Really excited about this interview. You have some pretty exciting news coming up. But before we get to that, why don't you just you take a minute and just kind of tell us a little bit about what you do and about who Mirin is?
Yeah, so I'm based in Los Angeles and I'm a staff writer for The Ringer. And I write really long form sports profiles about athletes. And I really try to get to the human part of their stories. So that's what I love doing.
Awesome. And has sports been something that's been part of your life growing up?
Yes, despite being 5 feet tall, I am a former basketball player.
Awesome.
And yeah, I was that girl that carried a basketball with her every day of, elementary school, middle school, high school. I was like a total tomboy. And, I loved writing as well, but basketball was like really my heart for all of my, years of growing up. And so it was really nice for me to kind of take that love for basketball and kind of marry it with writing.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, basketball has a dear place in my heart as well. So this is like this will be fun. So you have some pretty cool news coming up. You have on and now he's an NBA champion. So if we did this before, we wouldn't be able to include that on Giannis Antetokounmpo. Tell us a little bit about what's coming.
Yes, so I am publishing my first book on August 10th, coming out both in Greece and America. We have a Greek edition as well. It's called Giannis, the Improbable Rise of an NBA MVP. As you said, we should just update the title on this book. It's coming out by Hachette Books. And, it's really a biography of Giannis. I spoke with him and his family for a story I did a couple years back. And I just thought, this should be a book. And so this book is based on that story and that reporting. And it starts in really young childhood all the way up until he says he's going to stay in Milwaukee and sign the Supermax. So definitely could not have predicted a finals run and a championship, but I hope that this book will serve as a really good backstory to everything that led up to that.
So you say this book covers from his youth. Is that correct? So what
Yep.
inspired you to Giannis and just his story? What led you to this?
When I spent the day with them in their house in Milwaukee, when I was doing that story, I just kind of kept thinking, like, how do we know so little about this guy who is such a phenomenal player? He had just won his first NBA MVP, and I was like, we really just don't know anything about him. How is that possible? We know like little things like, okay, he sold trinkets on the street and he becomes so good, but we don't really know anything that's happened in between. And so I just thought like this deserves a longer treatment than, my 4,000 word story. And I also just really loved how caring Giannis was with his brothers when I was around them and just to see how nurturing he was. And I think at that time in 2019, whenever I would hear about Giannis, it was always look at his body, look at his athleticism, look how freaky he is. And nobody would really talk about how mentally tough he is or how smart he is or how nurturing he is. And so I was just like, I really want to find out more about like Giannis, the person, and not just the basketball player.
That's amazing. Can you share us a little bit of maybe a story that you've learned about his childhood that not many people maybe speak about?
Yeah. One of the things that Giannis and his brothers and their friends used to do is Christmas carol around Sepolia. And I know that's a big thing in Athens at Sepolia. And you basically sing and get money. And it's a very exciting thing. And so
Yeah.
Giannis, being the determined child that he is, who already has a budding work ethic, although he is not a great basketball player yet, he's only like 14 years old. He's like, we're going to get up and we're going to start at like 6 a.m. We're going to go everywhere. And he tells all his friends, he's like, I'm going to get enough money to buy a TV. That's his biggest thing because he doesn't have a TV and he wants so badly to watch Olympiacos and Panathinaikos play on TV. And he
Yeah.
can't because he doesn't have access. The only time he can watch these people play is if he gets a euro or two to go to the internet cafes. So Giannis Christmas carols around Sepolia and the other neighborhoods for like 6 a.m. to like 5 p.m. He hustles more than any of his friends. He doesn't eat a single thing during this time. And he earns enough money to buy a TV for his family. And he gets home and he shares this with his father, who is just like so proud of him. Charles is like, wow, like you worked so hard. You earned this television, and it's just, I love this anecdote so much because it just shows how Giannis was not discouraged by his family's circumstances. He was always dreaming and thinking of how he could make things better. And even when his brothers and friends were too tired to keep singing, Giannis would not stop singing because he wanted that TV.
That's amazing. That's awesome. So this book comes out, you said, can you give us a date?
Yeah, August 10th, both in Greece and America, same day.
Awesome. And we can get this, obviously we can book it online, but you said it is available in Greece as well?
Yeah, the translated version is translated by the Greek journalist Nikos Papadogiannis, and I believe the name of the publisher is Dioptra. Okay. Does that ring a bell? It's on. I'm gonna send you the link. It's on my Twitter. But yeah, they just completed the Greek manuscript, so it'll be available there. And if you're not in Greece or America listening, it's also on Book Depository, which is a website that ships internationally. So you can totally get it from any of those places.
Great. So you heard it there, guys. August 10th, Giannis, The Improbable Rise of an MVP by Mirin Fader. Get it. It seems like it's going to be a great read. I want to touch on a couple other things. Watching NBA games and going to them when Giannis is in town as a guest, every arena that has a big Greek diaspora living in that city floods the arena. Flags, Greek Heritage Night. Has this ever come up in conversations with him? How does he receive it? I know it's obviously he likes it. There's times where some games he'll address the fans, and sometimes he just can't. It's either he's too busy, he's got ESPN waiting in the locker room. Has this ever come up?
Yeah, it means a lot to him. I know. I remember watching clips of him like singing Greek songs with people or the national anthem, and I know he won't sign a Greek flag because he feels it's disrespectful because it means so much to him.
Right.
I talked with one Greek journalist who was living in New York at the time during Giannis's rookie year, and Giannis took the time to talk to this Greek journalist just off to the side, just giving him so much time. And he has no connection to this guy. He's never met him before, but Giannis just loves the fact that there is a Greek human being in New York City, excited and there. And, Giannis says like, how are you in the plural, to show respect. And that just meant so much to the journalist to be able to converse in Greek and to feel that reverence. And I know that it meant so much to Giannis as well. And one of the anecdotes in the book is during the All-Star games, there are media basketball games for international media. And Giannis takes a special liking to not just all the international media members, but the Greek ones. And he takes the time to get to know every single person's name, where they're from, what beaches they like to go to. And it's just, you don't see that with superstars, the pride that he feels that these Greek people are coming to his games. And in this case, the media games is just so palpable. It's really something.
Yeah, no, I can attest to that because when he came to Boston, a friend of mine who runs the Greek radio station in Boston, him and I tried to get into the locker room. We got in, but he had ESPN there that night, the local channels. And so we knew if he's going to speak to us, it's going to be a while. But it was Greek Heritage Night, so we're like, we have nothing to lose. We need to get close to him. And he looked at us after a while, and my friend goes, "Will you talk to us?" And he goes, "After ESPN, you have my attention." So after ESPN, he got up and just said, "Walk with me." So as he started walking, I told him, "Don't talk basketball, talk culture. Let's hit him where, in the heart. Let's get him to talk." And I said, "Do not bring up anything about today's game except the fact that the Greeks flooded it. We did the dancing at halftime." And once he realized we're not talking basketball, he froze. He stopped walking and gave us 5 full minutes of just pure joy talking. Yeah.
I love that so much. Okay. I have a story for you that's in the book that I feel like you will find really funny. So, one of the games rookie year, it's in front of so many Greek people. I think it was in Brooklyn. I can't
Yeah.
remember. I don't know if you remember this game rookie year. Giannis like shows out and all the Greek people are like cheering for him. Karan Butler, the veteran on the team, on the Bucks, is looking at Giannis and he's like, I think the rookie's feeling himself a little too much. Like these Greek people are gassing him up. Like, I don't want the rookie to get complacent.
Yeah.
So the Karan, Giannis, and other teammates go to a nightclub once they return to Milwaukee. It also happens to be Karan's birthday. In the middle of the club, Karan says, drop and give me a push up for every one of my birthday years because you were feeling yourself too much in front of these Greek people. And so Giannis is like, okay. And he does push ups in the middle of the club.
That's incredible.
But it just shows you, you know, like Giannis was so happy that the Greek people were supporting him to the point where Karan had to humble him.
That is amazing. That's amazing. Oh, that's good. Yeah, and I noticed I feel like I've never actually asked him this, but I feel like he's got Brooklyn has a soft spot in his heart. They've been doing Greek nights there since his rookie year. It's actually a good friend of mine is the one that organizes the Brooklyn Nets Greek Heritage Nights, and they were it was the playoff game, and they were there rooting for the Milwaukee to beat their home team.
Wow.
In Game 7.
That makes so much sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Just a couple other things. You spoke a little bit about his upbringing. I just want to know, a lot of us know, I mean, we don't know everything about what he went through growing up, but we obviously know he did go through some stuff. Has anything that he went through, does he still carry with him in the way he approaches his NBA career and life, family and stuff like that?
I think one of the things is that he is still a very private person, even though he is so charismatic and, you know, wonderful to media and others. He's still very private. And I think that is because of the trauma he experienced as a child being undocumented and the anxiety that he lived with. You know, I talked to a lot of childhood friends of his who talked about how fearful Giannis was of his parents getting deported. You know, if police somehow found them, that could just uproot their lives forever. And I do think that although he is obviously such a warm person and has so much like really meaningful relationships in his life, I do think there's a part of him that is still always a little cautious or distrustful or, you know, introspective or quiet because he never quite knew how to trust people growing up because you never know who could, you know, call the police. And so I think definitely in the book we chart that and how hard that was to kind of move through. I don't know, like I think of, you know, probably you and me, we still do things that affect us from when we were kids subconsciously and we don't even know it. And I think that certainly applies to him. I also think there's so much good that came from childhood. And, you know, Giannis had every reason to be angry and upset. And he just kind of never took it that way. Instead of saying, look at all that I don't have, he was like, look at what I do have. And I think that has shaped his perspective to be so grateful for the opportunities that he has because he was so used to looking on the bright side. You know, one of my favorite anecdotes in the book is one of his childhood friends coming over to Giannis's apartment for the first time, and he goes into Giannis's room and it's practically empty. But instead of Giannis feeling ashamed that he doesn't have much, he is almost happy, and he says, one day I'm going to have so many books in my home, and I'm going to have a television, and I'm going to have a PlayStation. And I just think that right there, that type of like always dreaming, always thinking forward has so shaped him into the person that looks forward today.
Right. And now someone is the Supermax, did that happen last year or is that lined up to be this coming year?
Yeah, that happened in December 2020. I know I'm losing all track of time, but
no, I've lost track of time the last couple of years.
Right.
But yeah, it went from that to signing the biggest Supermax, which is an absolutely incredible story. It's It's wild. It's absolutely,
in NBA history. Like it's not just a deal; it's the record
yeah,
contract.
right. It's the
A
record
person that,
contract.
I mean, it's staggering when you think about it. It's really staggering. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
it is. Lastly, just one last thing. Does the book cover what he went through with the loss of his dad?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
About midway through the book is when you'll see that, and I actually think that is probably the most important thread in the book
Okay.
because it just really changed Giannis after that point. I think for him, he thought we went through so much already. How could this happen? It's almost
Yeah.
cruel. It's cruel for any human to lose a parent, especially
Correct.
at such a young age. But to have survived all that they had, he kind of thought, well, nothing can touch us. We've gone
Yeah.
through the worst. And then it's like,
Right.
boom. But I do think that as much as I think his friends told me that it hardened him a bit and he became very withdrawn into himself, it also just motivated him, I think, to become an even better brother to his brothers. He was always kind of like a father figure to them, but after that happened, he really became the patriarchal father
Yeah.
figure. And that's why I think it's so wonderful that he is now a father and has a son of his own
Yep.
because he was grappling with the loss of his own dad. And then, becoming a father like probably changes a man. And I just think all these events that happened in such a short sequence, it's just miraculous. He's only 26.
Yeah, it's wild that he's still just 26 years old when you say that.
Oh my God, I know.
We say all this and you're like, he's just 26. I'm like, oh my gosh.
He's lived 8 different lives.
Yeah, yeah. But if you follow basketball, then you'll know that Tatum is still 19, right? You do know that one,
There
right?
we go. There
Yes,
we go.
exactly. He's only 19. Um, I
Basketball
only threw that
years,
in because I'm
human
from
years.
Boston. I had to plug Boston a little bit. I had
I
to
was
give
gonna
Tatum a
say,
second.
look, I'm from Los Angeles. I'm going to let you have your Tatum
Uh,
moment, okay? But that's not my team.
I know, I know. I'm just playing. I'm just playing. Uh, awesome. All right. I think we covered everything I wanted to talk about. Once again, this is Mirin Fader. She wrote, it's coming out August 10th. Giannis, the improbable rise of an MVP. He is now an NBA champion. And according to him and according to all of us, he did it the right way. He did it the hard way. He didn't join a super team, which is incredible when you see what he won a championship with. Absolutely incredible. Thank you, Mirin. Really quickly, website, social media. How can we
Yeah,
look you up?
absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. This was so cool and so fun. I'm so glad we did this. Um, I love talking about Greek stories with Greek people because I can like feel the pride across the
Yeah, yeah,
screen from you.
yeah.
So I love talking with you. You can find my stuff it's just my first and last name. So mirinfader.com,
Yeah. Okay.
mirinfader.com. And I'm the same on Twitter, Mirin Fader. I'm the only person without an Instagram, sorry, but I am on Twitter.
Perfect. All right. You can find her on Twitter. Do I have time for one last question? I just realized there was one more thing I
Absolutely.
wanted to talk about.
Absolutely.
His loyalty. I can't
Mm.
believe I skipped this one. Um, his, his loyalty, because at least from my perspective, everyone, all my Greek friends, we never had one doubt that he was leaving Milwaukee. What was the national perspective on this? Did people really think he was going to leave, or did his loyalty seem genuine to everybody?
Wow, that's fascinating because so many people in the US were very sure he was going to leave. And Milwaukee people didn't want to go there mentally. They were in denial. Like a lot of them were thinking like there's no way, but in their
Yeah.
back of their minds they were like he's going to leave. Like I think it's going to happen. And so there was so much uncertainty.
Mhm.
I think it was very split among the people that I talked to. The people that really know him were like there's no way. He feels lucky to have been drafted by this organization, and he remembers how they were there for him during his dark, lonely nights as a rookie when he felt so homesick and afraid and sad and just really just by himself. So he still remembers that and the way they took care of him and wants
Right.
to repay them for the way they invested in him. But there was a whole other contingency. And, American media likes to embellish things, and
Yeah.
everyone was like, he's going to Golden State or
Yeah.
he's going to
Yeah.
Miami. And
Yeah.
it was just
Exactly.
like this. Yeah, it was this narrative that just kept running and running and running, and it felt so loud. I mean, every time I would look at Twitter, it was like, Giannis is going to go to Miami. So I think that over here, like, people were stressed.
Yeah. Wow. And I've probably seen him photoshopped on all 30 teams
Right,
during that year.
right. Oh my
Especially
God.
Miami. Like Miami fans love photoshopping their players on their
It
jerseys.
didn't look right. It didn't look right, did it?
No, and I could never seen him going to the Warriors. That I did not see at all. I thought maybe a big city, maybe Brooklyn, but I just didn't see him leaving Milwaukee. And I mean, obviously he didn't, and hopefully he stays there for his career, and hopefully it's not a 1 year thing, and he keeps this thing going. Awesome. Thank you again. Once again, it's Mirin Fader. You can find her on her website. It's Mirin Fader, and on Twitter at Mirin Fader. Correct? I got it. Awesome. Thank you. And thank you everybody for listening to Greece Chats, and we'll talk to you on the next show. Thank you, everyone.